The most shocking results on paternity court.
Mr. Washington, you are not the father.
Thank you. Now have a great day with your life.
You are not the father.
Don't look at me like that. I don't know God's plan.
It was you that
Did
was.
you just
do that.
inject God in this?
Actions have consequences, and sometimes a two-night stand can create a lifetime of responsibility. And the same rodeo is up and running in the case of Mr. Washington. After discovering he had fathered a child due to a hit-and-quit thing, the plaintiff ended up in court, whereas Ms. Steinhardt chose to deny the alleged father's statement and claimed something which created a complex legal conflict. Let's move on to the plaintiffs.
Mr. Washington, you say the defendant, Ms. Steinhardt, she's claiming you fathered her 3-month-old daughter, Amaya. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Steinhardt, you say you have no doubt that Mr. Washington is the father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So the trial started off with some irrational questions, and then bam! Mr. Washington's girl spilled the tea that Miss Steinhardt is just a jealous homewrecker, causing all sorts of trouble. Seriously, who would do that? Like, why even bother stooping that low? It's just ridiculous.
Well, the real reason is because she just wants my family.
Nobody wants your
Let me let you
family.
know
Nobody wants
something.
this man.
Called me every day when you was pregnant, talking about your child like I was gonna even put my 2 cents in your conversation. He said it in front of you when we had you on speaker on the phone. You had
Because he
nothing
was
to
with
say. You
you.
was stuck.
Oh my, you won't even believe what went down here. So get this. After a little argument with his fiancée, he got frisky with Miss Steinhardt. Can you imagine? He really crossed the line this time. Like, how could he go from being engaged to getting down and dirty with someone else? It sounds scandalous, right?
He asked me if I was seeing anyone. I said no. I asked him the same question also. I said, are you seeing anyone? He said no.
No, that's
I
a lie,
said,
Your Honor.
Then we took it from there. We was together like that whole week.
When you say together, that means having sex?
We was just like hanging out.
Okay.
He took me to his family member's house, introduced me to his family.
So, let me take you to the part where mommy found out that the supposed baby daddy had a fiancé. It turned out that the plaintiff's girl caught them outside the grocery store. But they totally ghosted her. Like, talk about being a bunch of sneaky snakes. Trifling, I must say.
We was walking to the store. She was yelling from the other side of the block, like, oh, I see you.
And then I said, oh, I see y'all over there. Then they started walking like this. They out, running, ghosts. But they was out, they was ghosts, nowhere to be found.
I don't know what you was on, but
They
nobody was in
ghosts.
go.
And so,
Yes,
hold
you
on.
was.
However, the way Miss Calmer found out about her pregnancy was straight up a jaw-dropper. She was going through Facebook when she stumbled upon some pictures of her fiancé on Miss Steinhardt's page. This must have shaken her to the core.
Ms. Calmer, how did you find out about the pregnancy?
I found out through social media. She posted all those pictures that you have here with a picture of a pregnancy test on the social media page and said, oh, my baby father.
Things are heating up. The baby mama just dropped a bombshell and claimed that Mr. Washington's fiancé is expecting, and he is doubting if the baby is really his. But Miss Calmer didn't buy it at all and shut down those accusations like this.
I was like, why are you always with me and never going to see your children? He's like, oh, honestly, she's pregnant with a baby girl and I don't know if she's mine.
Never told her that.
Every child she has had by him, he asked her for a DNA test.
I
From
did
what
not.
I know.
Never.
All right,
Because
so-
best to believe I will be bringing him right here.
The screaming and blaming in the courtroom is not gonna prove who the daddy is. Only the DNA results will. So let's put an end to this paternity chase and get some scientific evidence up in here and see what that envelope is holding for the baby.
Mr. Washington, you are not the father.
Thank you. Now have a great day with your life and your baby. She's beautiful, by the way.
He's not the father.
A mother just hauled her own daughter into court for being an absolutely wild child. Miss Coe asserted that she can't handle her daughter's behavior, which includes sleeping around with a bunch of guys. And she's also convinced that her daughter's kid isn't even her boyfriend's. So Miss Coe's demanding a DNA test to expose the truth once and for all. Let's move to the plaintiffs.
Miss Coe, you say you're here today because your daughter is an out-of-control teenager and she needs help. That your daughter's boyfriend, Mr. Boyce, is the father of your 7-month-old grandson.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Coe, you say today's result of the paternity test will prove your mother wrong.
So basically, the trial started off with Judge Lauren asking Miss Coe how her daughter was making her life hard as a mother. As we mentioned before, the defendant was a pure mess. The frisky teenager had even tried to knock down a cop, and Miss Co was clearly dealing with more than she could handle.
I get the phone call to go up to the school. I get there. I was thankful that I knew this police officer. He looks at me and he says, "This is your daughter?" He says, "I could take her to jail right now. She could have a felony."
You won't believe the other incident that went down. Baby mama went all out and tried to plow the plaintiff and her girlfriend down and caused some serious damage to her. It's just appalling to us. And as well, how could a daughter hurt her own mother? This girl really needs some psychological help for her mental well-being.
She made that phone call. Them guys, they loaded up. They came to my house. They busted out every window. They busted out my car. They destroyed my house. That's me standing on the porch trying to take a picture.
However, Miss Co claimed that her daughter is promiscuous and even brought her gang into the house. She asserted that baby mama had been sleeping around with several guys at the time she conceived the baby. And that is the reason why the plaintiff has brought up the paternity issue.
But it's not just one guy. That's what she's saying. But it's not just one guy. There was somebody else in the picture. I know that there was someone else. Now, how many more it was, I'm not for sure. But I do know that there was someone else. I go to Larry. I say you need to get a DNA test.
Afterward, Judge Lake summoned the presumed father to the courtroom and inquired about his stance on the paternity matter. He revealed that he believed that he is the father of the baby, and he stepped up to the plate. So today, he shares a heartwarming bond with the child.
I feel like from the beginning, I knew it was a possibility, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying, he made me grow more. My mom, she passed away. Once I told her about it, you know what I'm saying, she just, oh, that's my grandbaby. I'm hoping that he's mine.
However, Mr. Boyce also has some doubts regarding the baby's paternity. He stated that he and Miss Co were not in a relationship at the time of conception and cannot recall if they engaged in safe sexual practice. But the baby mama reacted over his testimony like this.
You have that right, where you don't know.
I have doubts.
Why in particular do you have doubts?
The time it happened is like, we wasn't together. She was in a relationship with another guy.
So you don't remember if the sex you had was safe sex?
Yes.
After all that's been said, it is truly exhausting to witness young women paying the price of wrongdoings. The only call left was to move on to the conclusive part of this trial. Let's hope some DNA results will bring closure for the baby.
Mr. Boyce, you are not the father.
You hear his father?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, you are.
I'm still.
You okay? I know this was not the way probably any of you.
Caught in the trap of a paternity issue, Miss Thomas and her daughter, Miss Fields, arrived at the courtroom asserting that Miss Armster has entrapped her son, Mr. Griffin, in a paternity trap. They further claim that the defendant is promiscuous and has multiple guys in her life. So, they want a DNA test to resolve this contentious issue once and for all. Let's move on to the plaintiff's points.
Ms. Armster, you believe you were pregnant by Mr. Griffin before you had sex with another man, and the only reason his family is denying paternity is because they hate you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Griffin, you have your own doubts about whether you are Cameron's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
The trial began with a startling revelation. Turned out the baby's mama had ended her relationship with the accused baby daddy, yet she suddenly popped out and claimed Mr. Griffin of fathering her child. Grandma voiced her skepticism like this.
My son was in high school and came home and told me that she was pregnant. But they had broken up for 4 months. And then she all of a sudden pops back up.
It wasn't a pop up, we broke up.
And she come back saying that she's
We
pregnant.
broke up, so you don't know who the father could be.
That's right.
But the defendant vehemently denied all accusations and put on a convincing performance. She claimed that the plaintiff's son was the only person involved at the time of conception. She refuted all claims like this.
Get you to understand is that broken up or together, I'm not claiming you were cheating on him. I don't know during the time of conception, who were you sleeping with? Him.
Despite Mr. Griffin's support for the defendant, he has expressed doubts about his paternity, possibly because he was absent during the conception window. I'm curious to know why he would continue to stand with Miss Armster if he had such doubts.
I wasn't around her a lot of the time during the conception of it. I feel this way because it's been going on so long. I believe her and what she's saying, but I don't think my family would lie to me. And I just really hope that I can get this and get my life back together. You know, I want to go to college. I want to do special things for my son.
On the procession of testimony, it was revealed even when the baby was born, Grandma called her son and advised him to walk out. And I think Daddy took that advice seriously like that.
You're in the hospital, you have the baby. Was Mr. Griffin there?
Yes.
You were
Yes, I
there.
was.
So you're there for the birth of the baby, and then your mom calls and says, don't sign the birth certificate. And what do?
Well, I didn't sign it, but I did not sign it because of what my mom said. I signed it for my own reasons.
Grandma revealed a shocking part of this saga. Not of one or two. The plaintiff stated that there were 4 other men claiming to be Miss Armster's baby father. Oh my! Woman, how are you dealing with 4 other relationships at one time? Now that's promiscuous.
They're claiming that they are the child's father.
Yes.
They are popping up at my mom's house at one particular time. Unique was at my mom's house,
And
and
she went
this
and
guy
told-
had pulled up, and he asked her how was the baby doing. She was like, oh, just fine, holding the baby.
One after another with the revelations. The baby mama's own sister is going around telling people that Mr. Griffin isn't the dad of Miss Armster's son. But the defendant isn't taking it lying down. And to defy this claim, the defendant played smart and knit a story like this.
Mr. Griffin is not the father of your
Me
child.
and my sister, this is how it went. Me and my sister was arguing. We was fighting. We had fell out for some reason, like we always do. And
She don't even
She
want
got
you around
mad.
my
She
son.
got- she
Cause
got
she think
mad.
you want him for yourself.
she got mad.
All of the back and forth had taken a toll on the defendant, and the irony was that there was no hope of them changing. The only hope in this situation was the DNA proof. Let's see if that envelope is hiding something good for her or not.
Mr. Griffin, you are not his father.
Don't do that.
Mr. Griffin, I know this wasn't the answer you wanted to hear.
I've been everything for him. Everything. I'd do anything for him.
Tired of her ex-boyfriend dodging child support, the mother of a 3-year-old child brings her ex to court to prove that he is the biological father of her son. But Mr. Lee asserted that he is sure that Miss Brewington's child doesn't belong to him, and she's claiming this solely for financial gain.
Miss Brewington, you claim Mr. Lee has been a father to your son since the day he was born and is denying paternity because he wants to avoid. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Lee, you say you've known from day one Giovanni was not your son. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The baby mama testified that she is 100% sure that the defendant is the father of her son, and makes straight out clear that his claims are nothing but bluffing. She started off coming strong like that. Let's peep at her assertions.
I am without a doubt 100% certain that he is my son's father. Not only was I only sleeping with him, we already have a child from a previous situation. We got back together. We're working on us. When I found out I was pregnant, I didn't think it was gonna be a shock or a surprise or anything like that.
However, Mr. Lee had his reasons that were the bone of contention in believing the plaintiff's statements. Turned out they were not cool in their relationship, but living in the same house. See how Miss Brewington bashed him.
Time that Gio was conceived, we were not having no type of intercourse. We were not cool at the moment.
You weren't together.
No, not at all.
Your Honor, I was living with him in the same bed.
Were you living in the same house?
Around the time, yes.
But you weren't together.
Exactly.
So were you sharing a bed?
Yes, ma'am.
And fluid.
On with the procession of the trial. Mommy revealed that the alleged baby daddy is not only denying the child, but also denying her pregnancy by telling people that she is just fat, not carrying a child. Who on earth does this stupid trick to refute a child?
He was like, she just eats a lot of fast food. He's like, don't believe her, she's just fat. The entire time. I'm talking about, I'm going into labor. He's like, no, you're not.
What kind of denial is this? Mr. Lee, you taking denial too far.
Exactly.
She was trying to get back with me, but I wasn't, so if we have a child, we might work out.
So even after refusing pregnancy and baby, why did he sign the birth certificate? I mean, come on, what were you thinking while doing these stupid kinds of things? If you know that's your baby, just be a man.
I had given birth because he had work, but he showed right up. He actually didn't even, they asked about the birth certificate and everything. He signed the birth certificate.
If you had all this denial and you say she eat fast food and this isn't even a pregnancy, but then you get there and execute a birth certificate?
It was the right thing at that moment. We already had a previous child.
Either way, both sides and the judge were hoping the plaintiff was the father, as if not, it'd damage the baby for her whole life. Let's see if fate will have mercy on them or not. Now's the time for the result.
Mr. Lee, you are not the father.
Oh, yo.
Hold up.
I already knew it. I told you.
Don't look at me like that. I don't know God's
Who
plan.
else? It was you that
Did
was.
you just
Do that.
inject God in this?
I did not put him in this.